teachers of Reddit, what's the worst parent experience you've had? Parent-teacher conference. Father pulls out his phone and looks at it the entire 25 minutes. Could visibly see the kid deflate as his father found his phone more important than his son. I felt awful and got a new understanding for the boy's bad behavior in class. Parent-teacher conference. Mom fuming with anger and screams at and belittles daughter for 25 minutes straight. Daughter is crying all the time and is completely annihilated. The daughter's crime? She had done a crossword in class when I asked her to read instead. She generally acted like a normal kid. No funny stories here. Overall though, I've had a lot of really supportive and reasonable parents. Edit. I have gotten a lot of questions about the crossword thing. You can read the thread for elaboration. I'd say what my real failure in this situation was not mentioning the crossword, but not standing up to the mother and just declaring enough. I failed the daughter in that moment, not because I mentioned the crossword, but because I as an adult did not stand up for her when she was being torn apart by her mother. To be honest, I didn't know what to say or do, so I just froze and waited it out. I have thought a lot about this incident after it happened and hope I have the skills and guts to handle it differently if something like this happens again. Those poor kids, I hope they're okay, but I'm glad you get mostly supportive parents. I'm happy about that too. I think nothing breaks a teacher's heart more than when we see parents failing to express love for their kids. A year ago there was a teen suicide in the local high school where many of my students start after elementary. I immediately thought of that girl. It feels bad to say thank God it wasn't her, because someone still died, but I was relieved to hear it wasn't my former student. For sure. And it's even worse when you know the kid's having a rough childhood and you can't do much to stop it. I got her into therapy at least. My mother had been terminally ill for 2 years. She had a heart attack and went into a coma. I lived 500 miles away, so I packed up and hurried through the long journey to make sure I got there before she died. Unbelievably, she hung on for another 4 days, so I was gone for 2 full school weeks. I did all of my sub-plans electronically, and I had an assignment for each day to be turned in by the end of the day. I had one child with an IEP who did jack sh the entire year. Well, you can imagine what he did while I was gone. If you can do less than jack sh, he did less than jack sh. His mother called to speak with me after she saw that he had zeros for the assignments that were due while I was gone. I gently explained the reason for my absence, that my mother had died, and that I was not in the classroom to monitor his instruction. Mother proceeds to rage on me. She tells me I don't care if your mother died or not, my boy does not deserve zeros. What the F? What the F? Curious to know how on earth you refrained from throwing hands. I was visibly shaking by the end of her rant. I have spine loss admin, so it was a lost cause to even bring up her inappropriateness to them. I wanted to kill that mother that day. My school had a policy, all tests under 70% needed to be signed by a parent and returned to the teacher within 3 days. Parent and student didn't comply. I called, emailed, and sent notes. No response. Finally progress reports go out, and the next day mom finds me greeting students at the door. She decides this is the perfect time to rip into me and let me know how I failed her student. She did this all while I had a class full of students. When I finally got a word and I said this wasn't the time for us to discuss her daughter's private information, especially in front of all her classmates, and I would love for to email me sometimes, she was available to meet and shut the door. She then went down to the admin office and unleashed on the principal. I was pulled from my class to come to the meeting. I was verbally assaulted for about 2 minutes while my principal sat quietly watching and typing while she pulled up all my emails to the parent and checked my communication log, online spreadsheet we kept on the server outlining all communication that was phone call or notes. The principal found no fault with me. Asked the parent if she was going to keep her daughter enrolled at our school, a private Catholic school, and then had parent go over and resign parent code of ethics contract. I went back to my classroom quite triumphantly. Parent ending pulling kid over Christmas break to a school that fit their needs more. Thank goodness for a principal that stood up for the teacher. She was strict and a little old school, but she usually always backed us up when it came to parents. But we had ridiculous parents. This is my 13th year teaching, and I've had some doozies. I think this one takes the cake though. I had a parent go through the phone book and start calling all of the people with my last name because she was upset that her child may need to be retained for first grade. The only reason I knew about this is that she reached my parents, who refused to give her my phone number, and then who called me in a panic about this crazy parent trying to find me. A mum asked me why her son, who is absent from my class 19/20 schools days every month, was failing my class. I said he needed to come to school in order to pass the class, and she insisted that I was responsible for his failing and that I needed to try harder to teach him when he was there. I wrote a kid up for skipping my class. He was with another teacher and lied that he had my permission, and he got 4 days of ISS, not in my control, to assign punishments, and the mom emailed and insisted A, her child did nothing wrong because he was still on school grounds, and B, that I was out to get him. I went to a football game to support my students as well as to meet some other parents who didn't get to see me on open house night. Hi, could you make your class a little easier? We know X isn't going to be anything when he grows up, so we want his senior year to be the best year of his life. He wasn't even a party goer kind of student. Like, damn, the next 70-ish years are just downhill? And I ran into that a lot. That's actually a surprise to me. I've never heard anything like that before. I really hope the kid and the other kids you dealt with in the same situation ended up figuring out that he has way more potential than what his parents believed. A sad reality is that it was in the middle of nowhere, where horribly underqualified people were brought in as teachers. It was very common, and most parents there really believed their students would never be much of anything because they never amounted to anything, and you get that really strong crab mentality there. The best student in the school only got a 28 on his ACT, college admissions test for non-Americans, similar to the SAT in acceptance. Maximum score is a 36. The next highest ACT score achieved in the past 3 years was only a 25. One of my friends teaches first grade. She saw a couple of kids playing with something at recess one day, and it caught her eye. When she walked closer to see what it was, she noticed it was a crack pipe. She asked the girl where she found it, and she said it was her mom's. My friend said it wasn't surprising, because the little girl always wore raggedy clothes and looked like she was from a poor family. Anyway, long story short, the police got involved. Turns out the mom had a warrant out for her arrest, and literally a week earlier her dad was arrested for armed robbery. As far as I know, the little girl ended up in foster care, but I'm not sure on all the details though. Had a parent volunteer to assist with our after school program. She showed up to school one day high as a kite, walking barefoot in the snow in a bikini top, a new baby in her arms, and a backpack that was stuffed with random crap. She was escorted off the property immediately. She sent me a message saying that she thought she took an energy pill and accidentally took an methamphetamine. She still wanted to help out after all of that. Yeah, no. This kid lives with her grandmother part-time, but still lives with mom too. I definitely worry about her home life. I'm a private teacher. I teach English and French. Dad brings his kid for the first time. Boss introduces me as the teacher. Dad looks skeptical. I should add that I'm 22. Proceeds to ask me how I'm qualified to work there in a very offensive way. I told him that I finished at the best university in my country and I had a degree in French and English studies. Then he started kind of compensating by saying, well, I too have a language exam, you know. Few months pass by. The little girl is very sweet and she's smart, but it's obvious that her parents don't care to make her learn the words or help her practice, and I can't work wonders only an hour once a week. So dad comes in furiously because his daughter got a C at the end of the term and basically says That his kid is not stupid enough to only achieve a C. True, by the way, so therefore I'm the one who's not qualified to teach, and he doubts if I can even speak English properly. I explained to him that first of all, maybe if I couldn't speak English, I wouldn't be working as an English teacher, and second of all the kid needed was 30 minutes of practice every day, which they as parents were responsible for. Needless to say, I don't teach that girl anymore. Extremely litigious parent who had plenty of experience working in special education. She was able to bully our school psych into a ridiculous IEP. Some of my favorite accommodations were: 1. Can leave the class at any time to eat a snack. 2. Can turn in assignments at any time before the end of the semester. 3. Can opt out of homework assignments. Also, the kid was an absolute D. He was the type of privileged kid who would yell at his own mother in public. He seemed to think he was above doing most of the work in a class.